Well, hello again, and welcome back to part number 5 of our series on our 1954 number 354 Silver Bullet. And the story and the adventure that it's been so far has been pretty fun, hasn't it? And if you recall, we discovered that someone had pulled out the reverse unit and put in a bridge rectifier, converting the engine from AC to DC operation. You may also recall that I couldn't get it to run. So let's take a look today at what it's going to take to put this thing back together and get it operational. Today on Austin's American Flyer. Don't want to miss it. Well, friends, welcome back to the continuing development here of our Silver Bullet, a 354. As for in terms of the video, you know, this is all going back to back, but for me, there's been quite a span of time since I last worked on this. So just to kind of put the pieces together, everything was disassembled, and the tender was in pretty rough shape, and so was the shell, although we're talking cosmetically, paint-wise. So I've gotten things put back together, decals on, and so this is kind of this current state of things. I still have the side valve gear here to clean up. I used some stuff on it that's a type of supposedly like a rubber cement kind of thing that you can peel off. You put it on, you know, and then you peel it off, and it takes the paint with it. So we'll see how successful that turns out. But I use it on the headlight here as well. This paint turned out okay. Not super happy with some of how rough it is and at places. But I don't know. I went back and looked at the shape things were originally, and I don't know what else I could have done. Also had a lot of problems with decals. Can see how terrible this looks. There's some bubbling here that happened, and some of the decal lifted, but this side is fine. The other thing you'll notice is this is more of a gold, this is more of a yellow. This is the original color of the decals. Moving right along, so what I wanted to do next is go ahead and start putting things back together, cleaning things up. This tray here is my feeble attempt to stay organized with different repair projects I've got. I don't know if you recall me saying this, but the engine, armature, and commutator looked really, really good. Either there was not much runtime on this, or the conversion to DC really reduced the amount of wear on it. But like the ladder here, that's got a lot of debris and tarnish on it that I'm gonna have to work on. The side gear here, this stuff is in nasty, nasty, nasty shape. So what this is gonna do, I'll go through the typical cleanup process that I do.
All right, I wanted to highlight a couple of things. Number one, this video in its unedited but roughly assembled form is almost 5 hours long. So I've had to selectively compress and cut a bunch of stuff. The clip behind me, or the clip on that you're seeing right now, is running at 1,000%. Lots and lots of material. I ended up cutting out tons of it because it's all things you've seen before. But I wanted to highlight a couple things. Number one, I beg any of you that go to do an engine shell repaint to please preserve the inside of the shell where the date stamp is, and just leave that original. Do whatever you want to the outside, but please leave the inside original, so the future generations can see what year this thing was made. Number two, a bridge rectifier that was used on this engine as I got it, I could not get to operate. I double checked with Tom Barker's book, which he has a section on using bridge rectifiers, and the wiring appeared to have been a little bit off, so I changed it according to his diagram and still could not get it to work. So I don't know if one of the reasons the commutator looks so good on this engine was because when the bridge rectifier was put in, it didn't run anymore. I don't know, but I could not get it to work. So I went ahead and installed the reverse unit and made that part of the repair. One of the reasons I had so much video footage on this particular repair is that every bit of metal on this engine had to be cleaned. There was corrosion that had snuck into every nook and cranny. And so it just took me literally hours and hours and hours of cleaning and cleaning, which I've deleted some of that and as you see sped up some of that just to give some scope. But certainly grateful to have this opportunity to have this engine to work on, and I think it's going to turn out well. But it did take some effort to get it from where it had been to the final restored project, but all part of the fun. One of the things that probably is a little hard to tell is I checked the alignment spacing on the tender drivers, but also on the engine drivers, and I found one of those wheels was just a little bit out of whack and it was bent a little bit. So if you're doing engine restorations, you might want to check that. If over time an engine gets dropped or packaged in such a way that it gets a certain pressure, it's possible for those driving wheels to be a little bit bent or pushed out of proper alignment. So something to look at when you're working on an engine. The other thing that I did on this one, and maybe haven't highlighted it enough, is I lubricated everything. And when it came to the linkage on the side of the engine, I used a lightweight grease. Every place there was a rivet, I put a little dollop of this lightweight grease, just to try to keep things as lubricated as possible. And here you see me using some of the polish, and you can see the black that comes off of the metal onto the rag, and it works really good. It's a very mild abrasive product that takes a lot of rubbing, but you do get a good result if you're patient. So please consider some sort of metal polish too for your brass or shiny metal accents on engines.
I'm lightly spreading in